Welcome to the Boxing Source Podcast, where we go over the latest news in boxing and react to all of the fights that happened in the past week. Now, let's go to our host, J.R. Bell. Hold on a second, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hopefully you're able to hear me and see me here on this edition here, the October 5th edition of the Boxing Source Podcast here. We got a few things that we got on slate for y'all here for this edition. We gotta, set up a couple of things here to see if we can get, our special guests to join in on this particular podcast here within the next 10 to 15 minutes here, as we're gonna talk about a few topics here, while having him on. So definitely looking forward to having our special guest here to join us here. But then also, we're going to be looking ahead to what's coming up for the month of October, and try to go through the fight card that's at the Wells Fargo Center on Saturday night. So we're going to be doing that here in this particular edition of the Boxing Source Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, J.R. Bell, here on for, as I was mentioning here, for October 5th. I mean, we had like a few things that are going to be on the schedule here that, we're going to, look forward to in, boxing, right? But, with that being said, a number of things that, we have to, prepare for, as I mentioned there with the Philadelphia fight card. We got something that's going to take place in Sheffield also on October 11th. We got actually a world title contender that's going to be fighting on October 12th as well, man. So that's also one thing to kind of like look out for if you're within the southeast area, something like that. There over in Hollywood, Florida. But then also for October 18th, you got Danny Garcia fighting in Brooklyn, and you're also going to have a few things going down on October 25th. So we got a number of things here that we got to be looking forward to on this front as well. So we're going to be talking about that. Hopefully I'll be able to actually, I might do this here within the next few minutes, kind of like share the screen here when it comes to one particular fighter that is your world champion, but it's had, multiple fights or a fight above his weight class here this year. And then we'll have another one that's going to be above his weight class. Salute to those that are, watching live, whether it's on YouTube or Rumble or you're on Facebook. Yep, we're on live on Facebook as well, man. Salute to Brother Mar here in the building here to check in. So you know what, man, I'm gonna see if I could incorporate this video here real quick, because I thought this was pretty creative here when it came to this contender. So this is gonna be like a few minutes here, and this deals with, as I said, a world champion that has competed above their weight class here on this last fight, and he's gonna do it here once again. So I'm going to see here if I could go ahead and I can share this particular tab here real quick and get this thing going before we get, our guests here set up and everything like that. So let's see here. Gonna cue this thing up. Bet there it is. Should be right there. Yeah. So, all right, we got this thing on the screen. So here we go.
Hi guys. Hi. Welcome to the Reaper's Table at Diet Supper Club. My name is Jay. I'm going to be saying guys tonight. Got water. Here's your menu.
And why you not on the menu?
I'm not for sale.
Oh, I wasn't paying for that shit.
Ain't nothing in here free.
Hey, what's up with this old man special?
Oh, that's the Gary Russell Jr.
Oh.
This rare occasion food, it only comes once or twice a year, and it comes with very brittle hands, short arms. But this meal is very perfectly paired with a big ass mouth, and it's the easiest catch of the season.
Fuck no, we don't want that shit.
Nah, we good on.
So, what about the unicorn dish? Well, baby, this one is for the big girls. If I was you, I wouldn't bite off more than I could chew. More than I could chew?
Hold on. I done seen this before, and I heard about what's going on right here. We're gonna leave that alone right there.
Cause I could chew it.
No, just look.
This is the real deal.
All right, look, we're gonna skip the appetizers, right? We're gonna go straight to the main course because that's why we really here.
Okay.
What do you recommend?
Well, most people that come in here, they like the Brick City silver platter, but you look like a big dog, so I think I would recommend the gourmet duck. You want to know what's in that?
Please let me know.
So the gourmet duck, it comes fried, heavily salted, greasy, and a little sassy, but it also has a side of a female dog, so you might like that.
Fuck that dog.
Come on, man.
Nah, I mean, for real. I mean, what else you got, man? Fuck that. That shit ain't about nothing.
Well, the dog catcher special is a traditional Mexican dish. It's served on a bed of quicksand. It doesn't move, and it's an easy target to pick apart for your liking.
Hey, look, fool, that do sound nice. You hear me? I add another notch on my belt. You get what I'm saying? Or I can bring the belt out to him. It just, I don't know. What do you think? I think that's a nice choice.
Well, I really like that option for you. That's one of my personal faves. But whatever you think is best for you on this, I think you can handle it.
I'm going to go with the dog catcher special right here. And December 6th, live from San Antonio, Texas, I will be fighting Isaac Pitbull Cruz on pay-per-view for the WBC intern lightweight champion of the world.
So there you go, right? You got Lamont Rose Jr. there with his little skit, man, and he had a little bit to say on a lot of the fighters that were pretty much, as they say, on the menu there. Had a message for Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson, Gary Russell Jr., multitude of fighters there that was on that thing there for that skit. But that was like his announcement there to say, hey, he's going up against Isaac Pitbull Cruz for the WBC interim championship at 140 pounds. Yes, that's right. Isaac Cruz being the WBC interim champion there on that front. You know what I mean? So that's what they had on that front. All right. So trying to see here if we got this thing going on. Actually, have to see if I can add in my guest. Just mic check. 1, 2, 3. Hold on just a minute. Let's see here. I think I got my guy, the guest, on here real quick with us. So I'm gonna see if I could incorporate this on the screen here. Just trying to shout out to my guy here on this here real quick, man, because very thankful for him to join on with us. Of course, competing there in the super middleweight division, hailing from Baltimore, Maryland here. Let me see if I got him on the screen or whatnot. It's Lorenzo Truck Simpson in the building, man. What's going on?
What it is?
You all good, man? All good, man. What's good with you?
I'm Gucci. I'm chilling. How are you?
Oh, I'm all good, man. I'm all good, man. Just very thankful that you're able to join on with us here. I'm gonna try to have the double screen on and whatnot, man. So of course, you're coming off of your win that you had pretty much last month there against George Sosa. Was able to take care of business, get a TKO victory in that one there in Lynchburg, Virginia, man. So like, how is it to go out there and execute and get the win over George Sosa?
It felt good. It felt really good. The most thing that we were trying to see, me and my team, we were trying to see how I feel at 168 and how it was making it.
Yeah, no doubt. Because I know that there was, at some point this year, you were like seeing that, hey, you know what? I wanted to see if I could get to 168 and compete at 168. So, that, being your
Yeah,
first fight around that, weight class, you try to see like, how you were feeling at that weight.
yeah,
So
exactly.
like how was it like going through camp and everything like that to, be around that weight and kind of like see like how you were performing, not just, for the fight itself, but in the gym.
It felt amazing because I didn't feel depleted. Like I didn't have to like then I didn't have to wear a sauna suit. I
Recording
think
in
I ain't,
progress.
I don't think I wore a sauna suit at all.
Mm.
Um, I could drink a lot of water. I was eating well. I was able to do strength conditioning, so it felt real good not being had to lose too much weight.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about it. A lot of times, depending on how long you've been in the game or what weight class you're gonna be contracted to fight in, you gotta like spend a lot of time at times to try to get the weight down, so to speak. So it's like more about taking that time to get the weight down instead of like being in the gym working and sharpening your skills and things like that and performing at
Exactly.
your optimal
And
level.
and, and when you lose all that type of weight, like a lot of people think that it's just about making a weight. Like you will be able to make it sometimes, but you can't hydrate back and be comfortable for the next fight. It's probably not enough time most of the time. It's unhealthy.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. It's like once you'll try to get to your weight, it takes like a lot of energy out of you. And then when even when you rehydrate, you can
Yeah,
rehydrate to the weight that you probably would want to, but you still won't have the energy level that you probably would have had if you were able to, properly get the weight
your
down.
body just won't be able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Your body just wouldn't be able to do it in that quick of a time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So thing about it is, man, is that you're able to do that here for this fight against George Sosa, able to take care of
Yeah.
business and things like that. I think you had like a question here from like guests because you was like on live and everything like that. Like shout out to Lewis 4500. Asked if you are still doing a vegan diet.
No, I don't do it more so no more, but I would like to, but I would have to get like it's hard to get so into it because with you losing so much protein, you got to figure out what proteins that you could still do, and it requires a lot of cooking and stuff like that. I just haven't found a chef that could like properly cook a lot of vegetarian things in camp. So I could do it outside of camp, but I have to train and stuff like that. So it's hard to figure it out there on my own.
Word, word. Now, you were, getting back into the mix here, with this fight. That was like your third fight, of the year and things like that. So, that
Yeah.
kind of, said like, hey, I'm pretty much like back active and things like that. But, you're also, there in the camp there with, Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny. There, of course, Calvin Ford and
Yeah.
with Coach Kenny Ellis there, you're being there, with them. I think you were there for like your past couple of fights after, having some time out there in Texas with Coach Ronnie Shields. So, what was the experience of being back there with Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny?
Just amazing. I felt like a little kid again. Being able to, like I think more so just like you ain't see somebody a family member in a long time,
Mm-hmm.
or like like it's a lot of things to catch up on, and y'all really starting to understand each other. So it was just big. Like it wasn't more so just them being my coaches. We'll train hard and then talk about a lot of life things like just growing and it was just great bonding and stuff like that.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I know, like in one of your messages there, I think this was when Coach Calvin had his birthday. Like you had a heartfelt message there for him, and he kind of like showed that
Yeah.
he was like a father figure to you and things like that. So as you said, it's more about having that family atmosphere there. While you're working with Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, man. It's like when you going in that ring, people don't know how hard it is going in the ring and to compete just for, people see it as entertainment, but you gotta have somebody that's with you that's that care about your life and willing to go to war with you because that's the only other people that you got besides you in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
That's the closest people that you got to help.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you gotta trust them completely.
Yep, because that's your team, and you got to trust your team with your life, basically. Where this is like,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
live chess or something like that. Like you in the ring, but you like all the chess pieces, and having the right team there with your trainer there, your chief second. They're the ones that kind of like see what's going on in the chessboard, so to speak. There when it comes to the ring, so they're like, hey, okay, you can move this way, you can be over on this side here. In between rounds, they'll give you that type of strategy there for you to properly adjust and get the upper hand against your opponent there. So you got to have that level of familiarity there, with your team. And like you said, you've been there with Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny for pretty much the majority of your career. So having them
Yeah.
by your side, it's like, oh, okay, I already know that they got my best interests at heart.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm willing to be bad, good, go out, win, lose, whatever. I'm willing. If it's with them, it's good. If it's without them, it ain't gonna feel right.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Now you said like you're back there within that super middleweight division, like competing there in that particular
Yeah.
weight class. Because it's kind of like you've had maybe like a couple of fights that's been around that weight, but for the
Yeah.
past like few fights, you kind of like fluctuated from like being at 160, 168, a couple fights above that, and then like switching back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
guess with this one, it's like okay, I feel like I'm the most comfortable at 168.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Just a lot of other times when I was like being at 68 or like right there at 70, it'd be like last minute pullouts, people pulling out or finding an opponent and stuff like that, or just getting an opportunity where, it might be later and I'm feeling that. But now it's like me actually being at 168, the proper cut, the proper training. That's my good size, when I feel comfortable. Like, that's the weight for me. That's where I could really show my skill, not me killing myself and I'm just going off of toughness.
Word. And you said one key thing about sometimes when you get into fights or like maybe locked into a fight that it could end up falling apart. The opponent could back out. You might have like something where it's a replacement opponent or things like that. So it's like
Yeah,
you put so much into a camp, getting ready and everything like that. And then all of a sudden it could be like canceled. That'd be like the worst thing because you put in all of
yeah,
that
it'd be the
time and those
worst.
resources to get prepared for a fight, and then all of that is just all for naught because the fight isn't going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely. Because you don't, in the fight game, it's like it's up in the air at that point. You don't even know what you're going into.
yeah, because it's like okay, like for example, if it's like you sign in for a fight and then like 4 weeks in the camp they say like the opponent's not available or the opponent's not there, then it's like okay,
Yeah,
you got to scramble if you're gonna see about finding a replacement opponent or seeing if it could be rescheduled or it's just like I said
yes.
like
If you don't know,
scratch
it's
all.
just up in the air.
Yes, it's up in the air, man.
Yeah,
So it's like you there, you still gotta, be in the gym and stay prepared. But at the same time, you're like in the back of your mind, you're thinking like, are we still gonna have a fight at this scheduled time or something like that? You feel me?
exactly, exactly.
So yeah, that's the thing, man. And the other thing about me is like trying to have fighters be as active as possible. As I mentioned, you had like 3 fights already this year there, and I know like you had one that was there against Jahad Tucker, but that was like
Yeah,
around that 160, 158, 160 range there. So
yeah,
I mean, you were able to perform, but it wasn't to the level that you felt like it you could have been
yeah,
there if you were like
definitely.
at 168.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I just and the 160, it was real tough, man. It was tough. It was tough. That last week, just so depleted, and I just think in a fight I underperformed because I couldn't go to the next gear. Like my body just wouldn't let me go to the next gear. And I was so drained. I just couldn't take the next step. I couldn't do certain things. I was just fighting.
Yeah. It's basically off instinct. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
and
didn't even have. I'm one of them. I'm one of them fighters that have emotion into the fight. Like I'm a happy, joyful fighter. Like I know what I'm doing. I have fighting. If it's going bad, I'm emotional. Like I have emotions. That fight, I just was emotionless because I was so depleted.
Yeah, and the thing was, it was like the fight before that. You pretty much like competed at around, I think it was like 180 or something like that against
Yeah,
Trevon
like a
Smith.
last minute 1 week. Yeah, they couldn't find an opponent or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, man, you have that, and I say sometimes it's something to be able to have a fight and get a fight in, right? But then at the same
Yeah,
time, if like I said, you turn around and then you would have another fight that would be at like right there, like 160 pounds, right? It's like that's only like about a few months before you get right back into another camp. And then you had to
yeah, definitely.
spend most of that camp trying to get down to around that 160 pound, weight. So it kind of like takes a lot out of you doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I had been like, what is it? Back, what was that for 2023? There, because
Yeah,
like that cover photo I had there was from the weigh-in there when you fought like
yeah,
Patino Hill over at the T-Mobile Arena. So like you had like a bunch of these fights that's been over the past few years and things like that. But you've had tough bouts, like I said, against Jahai Tucker, what is it, and then like the one that I felt like, man, they should have got it for you there was the Vladimir Hernandez fight there that was
yeah,
on OTX. But you were able to like get back to that and get a win over Noe Lopez right after that. But it's like you said,
yeah.
sometimes going in between these weights, that kind of like says, okay, we're not necessarily sure, what you're comfortable at as far as like, performance. So you're going back and forth between like 160 and 168 at that time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And figuring out how to make it properly. Like all these little hiccups, it's just gonna be they're gonna be the questions and the great answers to be the fighter that I'm gonna be in the future. Cause just learning from the mistakes, learning the game. The team that I came from didn't really we didn't like Tank is out first and then it's me. So a lot of stuff we had to learn. And I'm one of them fighters that's I take the good with the bad. I'm not painting a perfect picture, or
Mm-hmm.
ducking and high, and we figuring it out and bringing old fighting back where the fans really see the fighter for everything. It's in their face. Like they used to love fighters with 20 losses, but they laid it on the line and they got better and they learned. Now it's just facade fighting and facade building, and then you really see who they is, then they gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the thing about it is like you want to at least know that the fighters they're competing every single fight that they step in the ring. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Like
Exactly. So
it's
I don't really blame fans because if they paying their money and seeing a one sided match and stuff like that, I mean you can't get mad at them. You seeing somebody that ain't supposed to be in there with somebody. It's just not right. That's not it ain't fun.
Yeah, yeah. Unless if like you're a fan of them, no matter what. Because sometimes I put some things with boxing, like how they say professional wrestling is, right? And they'll have things that they call like a squash match, where like a superstar is going up against the jobber that ain't supposed to be in the ring with them. So everybody knows it's supposed to be an easy night and everything like that, but they just still pay their money in order to see that their superstar that's there for the arena at that particular time. So in some of these
Exactly.
cases,
It's
you'll have
crazy.
those, but at the same time, it's like how many of those are some of these fighters going to have before they actually step up
Yeah,
and
like
have something.
in a fight game, there's no way that we should have. Man, I'm just going off the top of the head. Probably 30 people undefeated, top in the same weight classes, each weight class. It should never be like that. Just like how
Hmm.
all y'all undefeated.
Hmm.
We gotta start mixing and matching and fighting.
Yeah.
It can't be. Back then, it was a one or two great at that time. It can't be 30 of us.
Hmm. But the
You
thing
gotta
about
see.
it, like you said, at the same time, being able to compete, like back then, they had it to the point where they're able to face each other, or they had to face each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So even if they did,
yeah,
as
exactly.
long as they were able to make that happen, and you still had like a great fight, so it didn't really matter who won or lost. You knew that both of them were
It was
great.
still great fights, and everybody still got paid.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a lot. It wasn't. It was okay because everybody was still getting paid. Everybody was still fighting. Nobody was shaded and slandered. I see a lot of fights complaining about the slanderings and how the fans acting, but man, you can't really be mad at them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Word, word, word. So like, over the course of your professional career here so far, what would you
Yeah.
say is a venue or a location that you fought at that kind of like stands out to you, like in comparison to
Um,
other spots?
Stands out to me probably Vegas. Vegas is just so different. Like I don't like if a person never been to Vegas, like Vegas fight week is just it's completely different from any other fight week of you any other place. And Vegas, everybody stand at the hotels, everybody know what's going on. It's just like it feel like boxing the only thing that matters at the time. And when you're in Vegas, it's just like it's a real boxing city.
Yeah, man. I mean, once it's fight week, man, everybody's like, just sending towards that area where the fight's gonna happen.
Exactly.
So
Everybody, everywhere. You can go get something to eat. You going, y'all hear about the fight? Like, it just be crazy. Like,
yeah, it's like a whole different scene, man. Like in comparison to like
yeah,
being in a maybe in a small town or competing in a small town or like a place that ain't necessarily used to having fights or whatnot. So that kind of like is
exactly.
something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
it's like an unexplainable, like, it's an unexplainable way. Like, if you never been there, it's unexplainable. Like, if you never seen it.
for sure, man. And I think there was like one point where you were on the card for what was it, Devin Haney versus George Kambosos. You were out there in Melbourne,
Yeah,
Australia. There,
yeah,
so you had like one fight over at that venue too, man. So I know
yeah.
that
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 was
was
that was
insane.
crazy, crazy. Cause they never the crazy thing about them, see, when you're in Vegas, everybody know it's boxing. Everybody know the whole card. They know about boxing. But over there, they don't see boxing a lot, so they was just happy to be there. They ain't, they were just great fans because it was like they don't see boxing a lot, so they was really turned in and trying to really see.
Yeah, and I know, man, that trip be crazy, man, because it's like you got to take at least being in the East Coast or something like that, man. You would probably have to take two flights,
Yeah,
like one from here to like California, and then another one from
to
California
Cali and
over
come
to
back.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And it's like insane because like you got to go across the ocean. I'm like, man, man, I don't even know how that would be like, man.
Yeah, that flight was crazy. We was there for like 3 weeks before the fight.
Okay,
Yeah, it was crazy.
yeah,
It
because
was an experience, though. Great experience.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I know that what was it? Bob Arum like told me that he just takes like one of them sleeping pills or something and it just goes on the plane and just sleep for that whole flight going over to Australia or something,
Yeah.
man. Because I don't know if
Yeah.
I could do that, man. That that'd be crazy, man. But like you said, man, you out there competing in the super middleweight division. As I say, you had your last fight there in Lynchburg, Virginia. We're saying here, there's like
Yeah.
anything in the works for you to try to get back in the ring. I guess sometime before the end of this year, if that's possible, or seeing if there's something that
Yeah.
could be in
Yeah.
place for you
Definitely.
at the start of 2026.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. Getting one more in just to stay busy at the before the year end, and then next year should be big because like everybody know the skills. Everybody know that I'm supposed to be in there with the top guys. So next year should be real interesting. We got Mbelly, Martinez, you got Belanga, Pacheco. You got 68 is real. It's packed and exciting right now, so it's easy for me to fit in there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, yeah, you mentioned a lot of those guys within the top of the 168-pound division. There with like a Pacheco and a Billy,
Yeah,
Alessa Martinez. You know, and I know there was like a few other fighters out there. Of course, we know what happened at the top of the division there with Terrence Crawford and Canelo
yeah,
Alvarez and things like that. But yeah, you're trying to get yourself to be in the mix there at 168 pounds. I got to see if what was it? You had like I think what Steven Nelson is also still there at 168 as well. And like a few other
yeah,
competitors out there. So you gotta see about getting in that mix or something like that to try to see if you could get a couple of fights there before getting yourself entered in for the 168-pound division. I know that there's like something there if it's not within this particular area because I think he had like what was it, Emmanuel Lalim, that is also competing there at 168. That's like had fights within the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, something like that too. So that kind of like
Yeah,
shows like how many fighters are involved there within 168. That could be just within this area.
yeah, 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 definitely. I mean, it's really a new birth of a great area. I mean, all over though, all over. It's a new generation coming in, which is my generation. So there's a lot of weight classes and new fighters that's arising that's about to be great. The boxing, shit, we have a lot of things coming.
Word, for sure, for sure. Now, you being out there in Upton, over in the Baltimore area and things like that. Like, what have you kind of like seen as far as like um, going to work out there at Upton Gym? Working with the coaches there. Like I was mentioning there with Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny, but also the other fighters that be out there in Upton.
It's great. They're my family. We it just it's more of a family thing with us because boxing not a big household in Baltimore. It's probably 3, 4 boxing gyms. So it ain't like the other places like Philly, New York, Vegas, the Michigans and all that where you see a lot of boxing gyms. So it's more a family unit with us down at Upton. And we should have a lot of good fighters coming out of there. It's just keeping the focus because we're such a dangerous city, trying to get out of there. It's like, man, 1 in a million, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. Because I've seen been out there by Upton and things like that, and different parts of the Baltimore area, and
Yeah,
that's this thing is having that program there for Upton for young kids to go in there and go in the gym. There, outside of doing something else, outside of school or something like that. So that kind of like is one of those havens there for a lot of young children to be able to do something as far as like activity in between school and being at home and things like that. But then also eventually if they want to, they could get that and eventually be amateur and then be a professional fighter and things like that too. So that was the thing about having gyms like Upton and other gyms out there within the city of Baltimore too, because I mean I've heard like sometimes there isn't that much invested into those programs into the city.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah, absolutely.
pretty much gotta like get it from, as they say, the mud. You feel me, when it comes to like
Yeah,
opening the gym and maintaining the gym and all that type of stuff.
yeah, definitely, absolutely, definitely.
Yeah. So like who are like some of the other people like you work with there that's part of your team?
I work with Coach Russ. Coach Russ is my strength and conditioning. Coach Tuck, they work together. Coach Kenny, Coach Calvin. We got assistant coaches, Nice. Coach Hunt. Man, we just have we got a good amateur team. We got a lot of good guys, a lot of good guys. I know I'm missing probably a couple of the amateur coaches, but we got a lot of pros. We got Mia Killer B. We got Mojo. We got a ton of fighters coming. It's more than when I was like coming up because we it's more people that's getting interested in boxing. So it's more now.
Because yeah, I mean that kind of like was one of the things for me at least around my younger years or something like that, because like a lot of us or a lot of like people within the age of like 16, 17, 18, 19, they're just getting into like the whole thing with football, the basketball, or whatever it is like that. We really didn't have
Yeah,
that many people going into boxing in comparison to like maybe my previous generation where you had more people getting into boxing like that. So it's kind of like seeing more and more, like you said, more and more people getting into boxing, being competitive there in that particular field, man. And we gotta see what's going to be going down here, of course, with you. You're in that super middleweight division. Getting in work and things like that, man. Now that last fight that you had there in Lynchburg, Virginia, I was like, man, Lynchburg, Virginia. You'll being in pretty much the Virginia area myself. There, like, there's like some spots, where it looks like, it looks cool and everything like that. But then there's other spots in Virginia. You're like, man, I don't even know like how much stuff I could do around here. You know what I'm saying? So like Lynchburg, Virginia, I'm like, oh man, yeah, that I know that had to be something. Like you ain't never been there before. Yeah. Yeah, man. I was like, I don't know, man. That sounded like something. That sounded like a city that I don't know if I wanted to get lost in that place or not. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, oh man, because
That's the first thing when they called me. I'm like, for real?
He was like,
what?
He's like Lynchburg, man. What? I mean, you can't. There ain't nothing in Newport News or something. You know what I'm saying? Hampton, like Lynchburg. God, dog.
For sure.
Yeah, man. I was like, man, but yeah. So, but that's how. Sometimes that's how it goes. There in boxing, man. If you trying to get a fight in, if they got a venue out there, and you said, oh, hey, that's what you got for us. You know what I'm saying? That I go for it. You know what I mean? So that was the thing about it. But yeah, you were there. Like I said, you're able to do what you did in the gym, take care of business in the gym, and then just took care of the opponent there within 2 rounds, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing, man. We want to see more of Truck Simpson here real soon and everything like that. So that's what we're looking forward to, man. So like what is like your gym routine? Like you pretty much like go there in the mornings or like probably like further in the afternoon or something like that to start your day off.
When I'm out of camp, yeah, I go there in the morning. Wake up. Either some days I run at 7, or some days I just stretch at 7, and then go to the gym 10, 11 o'clock. But in camp, I go to the gym 10, 11. I either have strength in the morning and training at night, or the other way around. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do it like that. And some days it's 3 days.
Yeah. Sometimes, like you said, it'd be like 2 a days or like 3 a days. There whether it's during camp or off camp or something like that, right? Now for what I would say. Usually, I ask like whether you're in camp or off camp, what would be like your go-to food if you didn't have to make weight?
If I didn't have to make weight, man, I don't. Probably a burger. Okay. Yeah, probably a burger.
Okay.
A burger, definitely. That's like the easiest thing I could think of. Or some type of pasta, like vodka pasta, rigatoni, something like that.
Word. Yeah. That's what's up.
Definitely.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. I had a question here from shout out to my guy in Brunch Boxing. It says Luke Trunk Simpson. Asks like who you signed with, and if there like any plans on getting back in the ring, and then also is there any interest in you going to the TKO boxing thing they got?
I got an offer from TKO, but I'm really gonna look into it after like the holidays and stuff. I'm gonna look into it next year. I got a couple of offers, just seeing how I want to go with, because it's hard to tell the way that these things are going. But I'm definitely finding a home next year. Like I don't want to be free no more. I want to have a set schedule and things like that. So next year, y'all definitely see. That's the big news. I'm definitely signing.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I mean, we gotta see if there will be a path there for you to get into the rankings there within 168, and then eventually fighting title eliminators and then fight for a world title. So like you said, it's looking at the various options that are out there and seeing what would be the best route there for you and everything like that. So we'll definitely see if we can look into that there as well, man. But like I said, I mean, we got to look forward to seeing what's up with you here within the near future. I would say it's very thankful for you to take the time here to join with us here on the Boxing Source, man. And want people to be able to follow you on social media and everything like that. So let the people know where they can follow you on social media.
Definitely, I appreciate y'all too. Follow me on all platforms at Lorenzo_Simpson. Just stay tuned. It's about to be real big. Just stay tuned. It's time for it's gonna be real big news, real big excitement fights, and just tune in.
Gotcha. No doubt, no doubt, man. I'll definitely be on the lookout, man, and then I'll be able to contact you on in reference to all of that, to make sure that we get the biggest and best things possible here for Lorenzo Truck Simpson, man. So y'all hear him there, man. They're competing at the 168-pound division. They're trying to make some noise at super middleweight. Lorenzo Truck Simpson. Big thanks here for chopping it up with the Boxing Source, and we'll be able to catch up with you at a later time, yo.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt. So that's our guy there, Lorenzo Truck Simpson. We're able to do everything here with Truck. So big thanks for him to spending the time here with us and everything like that. And like I said, I'll be able to catch up with him on a few things when it comes to the 168-pound division here later on down the line. So that should be real big here coming up for Truck Simpson. Of course, we had his last bout there the previous month out there in Lynchburg, Virginia, man. And like I was telling, I'm like, man, Lynchburg, Virginia, man, that's absolutely crazy, man. That be like them cities that probably don't have that many lights, you know what I mean, at nighttime, and it ain't a spot where you want to run out of gas or be low on gas or something like that. So that'd be crazy, having fights like that out there or something. But props to him for taking the time to speak with us here at the Boxing Source, and definitely looking forward to more from him later on down the line. Like I said here, man, we got a few days coming up here before we have the fight card on October 11th at Wells Fargo Center there in Philadelphia. Of course, headlined by Boots Ennis versus Uisma Lima there in the super welterweight division. The way things are looking, you might have that end up being not only like a WBA eliminator, but given the circumstances with the WBA world title, right? You might have this end up being for the WBA interim championship. And I mean, if that happens, like I wouldn't be necessarily surprised. I mean, this is WBA. You already had like a world champion, and you had like an interim champion, and now the interim champion, that's Sebastian Raul. When he won, they elevated him to world champion. So they probably go to have an interim champion. WBA, they'll be having like 50 champions. I don't know what's up with all that. But still, we want to see what's going on here with Jerome Boots Ennis. This is his second fight here for 2025. Of course, his first bout of the year was up there against Iamanis Stanionis there, and that was a unification bout there with the IBF and WBA welterweight championships on the line. He was able to stop Iamanis Stanionis within 6 rounds, right? And so now he's going up here to 154 pounds, competing against Uisma Lima. He is currently ranked number 1, right, in the WBA right now. So they already put him up there at number 1 in the WBA. They put Uisma Lima there around like number 9. Initially, when this fight was made, they had like Uisma Lima at like number 10 or something like that. You feel me? So with that, we have to see like what's going to be happening here with Boots Ennis. We had like a workout over there in Philadelphia. What is it, like a couple of weeks ago? Looking pretty good. Some people were talking about some of the comments that he was making, after the fight or whatever it was. So, talking about like a Mount Rushmore fighters or anything like that. And, some comments in reference to Terrence Crawford or whatever it is or whatnot. All right. Shout out to one of my guys here that, just recently joining on here. My guy Jay Pylon in the building. And he asked the question, you any kid to Riddick Bowe? Yeah, man, that's been that's been the whole thing here for me. Over the past couple of years, man. Saying some of that I look a little bit like Riddick Bowe, but yeah. So he and Riddick already knows about all that type of stuff. So whenever I see him, we chop it up and everything like that. So yeah, he kind of like knows, but no, I'm not kin to Riddick Bowe there. I could see if I could trace back to like anything, but nope, not necessarily related to Riddick Bowe there. But yeah, we got that upcoming bout here for Boots Ennis versus Uisma Lima. There, that is going to kind of like be something there for the 154-pound division. A lot of people are looking to see what Boots Ennis can do here in this division. There have been like of course criticism about him having this first bout at 154 pounds going up against Uisma Lima, with Uisma Lima being a former competitor at 160 pounds. His lone loss was at 160 pounds. And after that, he was able to compete once again at 154. Had defeated a few fighters that had undefeated records there, so to speak, right? But outside of that, he's competed in Germany, in Toronto, Canada, over there in South Africa, and he is pretty much based in Angola. But someone that has a record of like 14-1 with 10 of those wins by way of knockout. Yeah, a lot of them, pretty much have been like stoppage victories, and majority of them happened at the start of his career there against guys that didn't necessarily have impressive records, so to speak. And there's like one fight where he had a bout against a fighter that had about 73 fights. Yeah, 73 or so fights, and the guy only won 11 of them. So I mean that just shows you right there like how highly favored Jerome Boots Ennis is for this coming for this upcoming bout. You know what I mean? My guy Bruce Gas in the building here on the live chat here. Salute to Bruce Gas, Boxing Jazz and more. Of course, he's able to talk boxing. Has like a lot of great trivia there on his channel as well. So salute to Bruce Gas there, on this live chat. But like I was saying here with Boots Ennis, there's a lot of expectations from him. Of course, this is going to be his, as he say, officially his 36th bout. Of course, he had one no contest over the course of his professional career, but this one being his first bout within that super welterweight division. They want to see like what this would kind of like put him in position for. But as I was mentioning, with this particular bout being either a WBA eliminator bout or it could end up being for the WBA interim championship. Don't be surprised if that ends up being announced here within fight week there for this particular bout. So then we'll put him in position to, probably face a Barao for that WBA world title. And then after that, then we see what could be, in the works there for Boots Ennis, right? Now, outside of that, you may have a few other things that's going down within that fight card. So I have to see, what's up with the co-feature bout, because I thought there was something in reference to Khalil Cole and his position or his status, right? So I have to, see what's up with all that, and see if he's, still available there. I'm not sure if he's available for his bout. That's supposed to be the co-feature against Jesse Hart. You're also going to have like Guido Vianello there in a bout against the undefeated Alexis Barrera for the WBC Continental Americas heavyweight title. You also have, as I said, Tamir Smalls versus Jose Roman. Very interesting bout on that fight card because you got Tamir Smalls there, undefeated in the welterweight division, going up against Jose Roman, who was the one who gave Jaleel Hackett his lone loss of his professional career. You know what I mean? So yeah. Bruce Gas here, says, what is this thing here? It says like 9 years as a pro, time to what they say, take the training wheels off. Well, I mean, here's the thing though. I mean, you already was able to become a welterweight champion and become a unified welterweight champion there in Jerome Boots Ennis. thing about it is that you go up there, you build yourself up as a contender, being a top contender there, in the IBF rankings, waiting for that world title shot. Didn't necessarily get that world title shot there through the IBF, so they ended up, awarding them the IBF title as Terrence Crawford vacated, being the undisputed champion. So then after that, having two defenses, right? And then after that, being able to unify against Uisma Lima. But by that time, he was like, "Hey, you know what? Can't make 147 comfortably anymore. Let's go for 154." So now this is what we get. You know what I mean? And at the same time, right? You have like other fighters that haven't necessarily gotten to the point where he's gotten to, and we got to see what's going on. And, hey, I feel you though, man. He says, just a fan who wants to see the best versus the best. Hey, that's the thing as a fan, man. You do want to see the best versus the best, but as it is, man, this is boxing. A lot of times we get disappointed when it comes to potential matchups in the fight game and fights, that we know that should be happening, but ain't happening. So now it's like, okay, what do we have that's on slate that we will be able to get, or that could be set up? And the thing here with Boots, like you said, if you have like high expectations for Jerome Boots Ennis, you want to see that against the top fighters within the division where he's going to be at. He's only been able to like show that kind of like once there against Uisma Lima, but outside of that, didn't necessarily get those opportunities. You know what I mean? So now he's going to be campaigning at 154. We got to see what happens here first on October 11th in Philadelphia, and then after that, we'll see where he's going to be going up against. Now, the thing about it is, let's say he gets his win over Uisma Lima, right? And then the next bout could be against Abbas Barao. The expectations that they have for Boots Ennis going into this fight against Uisma Lima, they're going to have the same type of expectations if he's going up against Abbas Barao, right? So, like, for example, for this upcoming fight, Boots Ennis versus Uisma Lima, right? The odds so much in his favor to the point where it has it almost as high as a 30-1 favorite for Jerome Boots Ennis on the books. I have to see if I could get an updated thing here. Sometimes I go into the whole thing as far as like the lines and all that type of stuff, right? So you got like 30-1. 30-1 is, yeah, I'm sorry, 30-1 is crazy. You feel me? But let me see here, man. I'm gonna see here if I could man, all these daggone pop-ups, man. Man, sometimes, man, these ads, boy, it'd be crazy. But yeah, I want to see if I could go ahead and go into those odds here real quick, right? So actually, what is it? DraftKings got him as like a 25-1 favorite and Uisma Lima as a 10-1 underdog. You feel me? So those are like wild odds, but hey, it's boxing. We've had wide odds before and still have these fighters end up losing. We've had a couple of examples of that this year. So I mean, it's like anything could happen in the sport of boxing, but a lot of people expect for Jerome Boots Ennis to get this win and to fairly get it easily there against Uisma Lima. So we kind of like going through that. I gotta also, like I said, I gotta catch up with this thing with Khalil Cole and Jesse Hart. They got Khalil Cole as a 7.5-1 favorite over Jesse Hart there in the co-feature bout. Now I think this kind of like goes into what Bruce Gass may be talking about when he says he wants to see the best versus the best. And we almost, we kind of like hinted at it a little bit there with our guy, special guest there, Lorenzo Truck Simpson. He says, like, sometimes we have a lot of these mismatches, man. Like, you got these guys that are undefeated. They're all in the same division. You should be able to make something happen, make something shake, as they say. But sometimes we just end up with, as I was mentioning, squash matches. You know what I mean? Where you have a highly favored fighter against an opponent, and there they just put them out there. But given what's going on in the boxing game, at times we just aren't necessarily seeing these high level matchups there within the sport of boxing. So we got to see how that goes on here, at least for this next weekend. Like I said, highly favored there, Jerome Boots Ennis against Uisma Lima. Khalil Cole against Jesse Hart there in the Cole feature. It got that as minus 750 for Khalil Cole and plus 475 for Jesse Hart. Man, that's crazy. But at the same token, you got a heavyweight bout that's supposed to be out in the UK or something like that with David Allen and Arslanbek Makhmudov, right? And at least in that, you got Makhmudov there as the slight favorite. Hey, that's crazy. But Dave Allen had that TKO win over Johnny Fisher in that rematch, so he's like putting his position to face Makhmudov, who's lost two of his last four fights. So it makes for an interesting bout there. That's going to be at Sheffield. That's on the same day there, October 11th. But I'd say here with the other bouts here in Philadelphia, man, that's as they say, man, those are like basically mismatches on that front. But it's something where you say, hey, we get to see a unified welterweight champion, Jerome Boots Ennis, in his first bout at 154 pounds, right? So you got that. That's coming up. I did mention a thing there with Dave Allen. It was also mentioned that maybe if Dave Allen gets that win, he could have an even bigger bout at the heavyweight division. So we'll have to see. And yeah, man, facts. Jaime Alvarado here says, yeah, boxing has been still these past couple of weeks. Yeah, man, we haven't had that much action in boxing over the past few weeks, man. We've had a couple of we had like a pro box event, you know what I'm saying? That went down a couple of weekends ago, right? But outside of that, nothing really jumping off or something like that. So we had to wait until around this time. You got this thing here, like I said, over in Sheffield with David Allen versus Arslanbek Makhmudov. You got the Boots Ennis versus Uisma Lima in Philadelphia. The following week, October 18th, you got something at Barclays Center. Danny Garcia will be facing Daniel Gonzalez. It's like a farewell to Brooklyn. It's titled for that fight card. So we got that's going on for October 18th. But then after that, you got October 25th. There's a good number of bouts there that's on slate for October 25th, right? So, of course, you got Keith, one-time Thurman, seeing if he could go get the WBC Super Welterweight Championship. He's going up there against Sebastian Fundora, who I feel is right now the top fighter at 154 pounds. Has had a few impressive victories, over the past year and a half. Now he's going up against former unified welterweight champion there, Keith, one-time Thurman, headlining the bout. And then you also have there in the co-feature O'Shaquie Foster versus Stephen Fulton for the WBC Junior Lightweight Championship. Shout out to O'Shaquie Foster. He was a special guest on for Brunch Boxing yesterday. If you could catch that on Brunch Boxing, he had a few things to say there on that particular interview. Not just about the fight itself, but about a few other fighters that he's kind of like been involved with as far as like potential matchups, whether it would be at 130, 135, or whatever. So you be able to catch that, because I thought that was a very, very good conversation right there, man. Big ups to my guy, brother Smitty, in the building there, addressing the elephant in the room. You know what I mean? So shout out to Smitty there in the building. But going back to the schedule there, like I said, October 25th, that is PBC pay-per-view on Prime with Fundora versus Thurman headlining there in Las Vegas. You got O'Shaquie Foster versus Stephen Fulton. There you're going to have Jesus Ramos Jr. versus Shane Mosley Jr. for the vacant WBC Interim Middleweight Championship. And you got Isaac Lucero going up against Roberto Valenzuela there on that one as well, man. So Isaac Lucero is a fighter to kind of like look out for also, because he's had a couple of impressive showings here recently, and we had like an article you could be able to check out on theboxingsource.net in reference to Isaac Lucero. He says that he's prepared for war here going up against Roberto Valenzuela Jr. So y'all be sure to look at that there on theboxingsource.net. But that kind of like says what is out there for that particular fight card there on October 25th, right? But also You got Joseph Parker versus Fabio Wardley. Therefore, Parker's what is it? Interim WBO title. I know that they said like Fabio Wardley is like a WBA regular or interim champion or something like that, man. Man, I don't know, man. You got interim champions, you got gold champions, you got regular champions, you got super champions, you got a whole bunch of champions. Champions here, champions there, champions everywhere. All I know is this fight here between Parker, right, and and Fabio Wardley is gonna be a really, really good scrap. And for me, it's gonna kind of like show where Fabio Wardley is right now to face a former full world champion, as Joseph Parker was the WBO full champion before losing it to Anthony Joshua years ago. But with Fabio Wardley there being undefeated at 19-0 with one draw and 18 of those 19 wins by way of knockout. He has, of course, been able to get back with Frazier Clark with that crazy knockout last year. That was in the first round of that rematch, and then he was able to stop Justice Huni there in the 10th round here a few months ago. That put him in position to fight Joseph Parker, who has had a string of good wins here. I feel like has been one of the more impressive fighters there in the heavyweight division since 2023. They're, of course, having a win over Deontay Wilder, being able to get a win over Zhilei Zhang, and then earlier this year, having to stop his win over Martin McCauley. Yeah, Martin McCauley pretty much was there, for like a few days, visiting Riyadh and stuff like that. But, still at the end of the day, Joseph Parker getting that stoppage win, props to him. Yeah, he was supposed to face Daniel Dubois, but that didn't necessarily work out that way. He ends up fighting Martin McCauley and gets the stoppage win on that. So now he's, getting back here against Fabio Wardley. And, with the thing with Joseph Parker, I mean, it's not like, he's what I would say, like in the back end of his career, I'm not sure if he's there because he's like 33 years old, right? Like he was able to win the WBO heavyweight championship at pretty much like an earlier part of his career. So here he's got to be like around that time where you could still have a few more years there to compete at the heavyweight division. So he could still be in the picture to compete for and potentially win a world championship. We got to see what's going on with Alexander Usyk first. But in the meantime, he still has this coming up here against Fabio Wardley. So I think that's going to be a very key bout there in the heavyweight division, around that top of the heavyweight division between those two competitors. So that is another fight to look forward to on October 25th. Also going with the fight card that's in Las Vegas as well. And then, we also got a few more fights coming up, or key bouts coming up within November. Of course, Virgil Ortiz Jr. versus Erickson Lubin. That's going to be, please don't sleep on that particular bout. I'm telling y'all, don't sleep on this bout because Erickson Lubin almost seems like, hey, it's looking like a lick. Some people may have said, like, and probably even myself, right, that Lubin's last fight, just being honest, that almost seemed like a sparring session. He was out there, outside of Kissimmee, Florida, whatever it is, had that eliminator bout, right? And it was something where, his opponent there, RJ Holmes Jr., undefeated going into that bout, and they had like a whole bunch of, trash talking and had like a couple of confrontations like early, building up the fight. And then the fight actually happens, and you really didn't get that much effort, at least to me, from RJ Holmes Jr. And then it eventually ended up being a stoppage win for Erickson Lubin. And people thought that he would have competed for the IBF title belt. But nope, couldn't work that out. Gotten this thing here with Virgil Ortiz Jr. for the WBC interim belt there at 154 pounds. And Virgil Ortiz Jr., of course, he was competing there at 147. Didn't necessarily have a fight there against Iamana Stanionis. It didn't work out. And then he ends up moving to 154, has a couple of fights at 154, then fought Sergey Boychuk in a very close bout. Some thought Boychuk won. but it ended up being a win for Virgil Ortiz Jr. Then the next bout against Israel Madrimov, pretty good performance, ends up with a decision win. Now he's going up against Erickson Lubin, and he's had a lot of momentum, a lot of buzz. This is going to be like the first real big bout that's around his hometown and stuff like that, right? Over by Fort Worth, Texas. But this is something where he can't necessarily play around with someone like Erickson Lubin. I mean, Erickson Lubin, very skilled, has had the amateur background, all that type of stuff was built up, in the first part of his career there at 154 before having that knockout loss there to Mel Charlo. So that we got it. You cannot sleep on Erickson Lubin on this because we saw what happened in 2023 with Jesus Ramos Jr. Some people thought Jesus Ramos was gonna, walk through Erickson Lubin. He was like, "Oh no, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that tonight." Ended up getting a decision win on that. So Virgil Ortiz Jr. got to be on his P's and Q's, as they say there, against Erickson Lubin. Jaime Alvarado asked a question there. He says, "Is Andy Ruiz Jr. making a comeback?" It says, "Man, well, I don't know. Listen, I'm very thankful for the opportunity. Like, you know how it goes, right? But I don't know. I have to see for sure. They had like the whole thing where during the fight week of Canelo versus Crawford, they had him and Deontay Wilder there in a face-off, almost with the inclination like they were going to have a fight with each other. But ever since then, I haven't seen anything that says like they got something set up for a date, location, or anything like that. So maybe we'll see if we could get some updates on that. You'll hear what I would say within the next week or so. But as of right now, I haven't seen anything as far as like an update for Andy Ruiz Jr. to be in a position to have a fight. But it's been a good while since he's actually, been in the ring, man. He's had, extended layoffs here, in between fights. He hasn't fought since October 3rd of last year against Jarrell Miller, which, was a majority draw. And hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind if they would have had a rematch between each other. That was a pretty good fight that, some people felt like Jarrell Miller should have been able to pull off the win there, but didn't necessarily happen that way. Ended up being a majority draw. So I would say, why not go ahead and have that be about that should happen? You know what I mean? Jarrell Miller versus Andy Ruiz Jr. once again. Why not? Because the thing about it is that you got Andy Ruiz that's had like extended layoffs in between fights ever since his loss to Anthony Joshua in that rematch, right, for the unified heavyweight championships. The next fight that he had was in 2021. Then he had over a year layoff from that. And then the next one was almost 2 years between his fight with Luis Ortiz and Jarrell Big Baby Miller. And we're already another 12 months, past 12 months, there for Andy Ruiz Jr. to have a fight. So we got to see what will be next here for Andy Ruiz. But as of right now, it doesn't look like, much is set up for him as of yet, right? So got to see what will be there on the horizon for the former unified heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz Jr. But that kind of like sums up what's coming up here within the next few weeks. Up to November 8th, as I said, with Virgil Ortiz and Erickson Lubin, and of course you got Jake Paul versus Tank Davis. That fight card that's in Miami, Florida, that includes Gary Antoine Russell making a defense of that WBA junior welterweight title against the mandatory challenger Andy Hirioka. You're going to have other title fights out there that involve Alicia Baumgartner getting in the ring. You got Ellie Scottney. They're going up against Mayeli Flores, Yukasa Valle versus Yadira Bustillos. Those are also title fights on that card in Miami, Florida. And then November 15th, you got that rematch, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn over in London. So that, kind of like says how active we're going to be up until November 22nd. Of course, you got that Ring 4 event in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. There, of course, Benavidez versus Yard, Bam Rodriguez versus Fernando Martinez, Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes, and of course, Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Miles Haney. And you also have Artur Beterbiev there against Dion Nicholson. So that shows you like how much action is coming up here over these next couple of months here. So look forward to a lot of that here coming in for the sport of boxing. Continue to follow us here on the Boxing Source for more on that. Trying to see if we can secure couple more interviews for this week. Have to follow up on it for Tuesday because there's another fight that I have to get an update on that's supposed to be on that fight card for October 18th. But we got to see what's up with all of that here first. Know that I spoke with one of the people within the team for that fighter as you know they were in the gym training. So I have to see what's up here. So I'll probably get an update on Monday to see if that particular fight is supposed to involve former world champion Richard Comey. So got to see if that's still on the horizon there for October 18th, because that would be a fight that, definitely would look forward to. But we got to see if that's going to happen here on this sense. But with that being said, that is, mainly what I got here for this edition of the Boxing Source podcast. A big thanks for everyone that's been able to listen in here live. You go ahead and share this video stream. We're going to see about getting this podcast in audio form ASAP, so you'll be able to listen to it through, what is it, like Amazon podcasts there, through Spotify, iHeart. We got it on iHeart as well. So you'll be able to listen to it anywhere and everywhere. Okay, so that's what we got. Boxing Source all over social media, theboxingsource.net. And thanks for the support here. And until next time, folks, I will catch y'all later, y'all. Peace out.